Stoves are known for elegant Danish design. Made of quality cast iron, this is furniture that radiates heat and warmth. Morso brings the tradition of wood heating into the 21st century.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has been selling wood-burning products since 1977. Morso is an important part of our diverse selection of fireplace products. We want to make fire work for you. Let us show you how Morso wood-burning stoves can work in your home.
Get in touch with the folks at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. They are the chimney and installation experts. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis.
Holiday shopping is easy with the Park Tavern. From now until December 31st, stop into the Park Tavern and buy a $100 gift card. You'll receive a $25 Park Tavern gift card for free. You heard that right. Buy a $100 Park Tavern gift card. You'll receive a $25 gift card for free. The best part is you get to decide which gift card you keep and which gift card you gift. The Park Tavern is open regular hours throughout the holiday season, offering great food and family fun. On Louisiana Avenue, north of Highway 7 in St. Louis Park, the holidays are just better with the Park Tavern.
With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Clear tonight with a low of 25, then sunshine Wednesday with a high of 42. Cafe Latte is unlike any restaurant you've ever experienced. Grab a tray and pick from their award-winning selections of soups, salads, sandwiches, and mouth-watering desserts. Cafe Latte, Victoria Street and Grand Avenue in St. Paul, or cafelatte.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken.
And this is Ghostbox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakken. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. You know, we're going to get right into it tonight. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about my guests that I have on. You know, I've been a fan for a very long time. There's so much that I want to talk with him about. I know friends of mine have been a real big fan of his work. I actually had wondered if getting into all of this tonight, if it would be easier to say what he doesn't do opposed to what he does do, because does a lot of stuff. One of them being that he's an author. He does a podcast. He makes, you know, he's a producer. He does a lot of good stuff, let alone the fact that he makes something called Monster Sauce. And we're going to be talking about that here very shortly. I am really excited tonight as we have on with us Lyle Blackburn. Lyle, welcome to Ghostbox Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, I don't think you'd remember this. I mean, this is a long time ago, but I've had tried to get you on the show a number of times. The difference is that back then I was doing a show Wednesday night, and that would be the night that your band was rehearsing, if I'm not mistaken. So we never got you on.
Right. Yeah. There's my schedule is always so packed. It's really hard to find a time to where I'm not busy.
Well, I mean, at least that's what you told me, that the band was, you know, rehearsing. Who knows? Maybe that was just an excuse back in the day. I really don't know. No, I know.
Well, yeah, we rehearse. So it just depends on what we're doing in the band, working on an album or getting ready for a tour. So there'll be times when I'm doing that, but yeah, it's difficult to juggle.
You are a busy person. You have a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. I mean, it has to be pretty exciting to see what you've been able to, I'm assuming what you wanted to do and now what you've been able to do and have a dream and watch it grow. I mean, that's pretty exciting to see all the cool stuff that you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun. It is a lot of work, but surely it's awesome. I don't consider it actual work. So to be able to do all this, but I surely juggle. I think I slept 3.5 hours last night, which is almost normal to keep up. So
wow,
who needs sleep?
Yeah, right. Who needs sleep? That'll come later soon enough, right? So a couple weeks ago I had on Pamela Pierce. We're talking, if I'm not mistaken, I think today is her birthday, if I'm not mistaken. So and we were talking obviously about the Legend of Boggy Creek, her father being the director of that film. But one of the things we had also talked about was your role in helping getting all of that figured out. And now we didn't really talk about this with her, but am I correct that you actually ended up finding some of the film prints that were either needed or part of to help that restoration on that?
Yes, we started looking for a good print with which to remaster from, because
Yeah.
this was just scattered everywhere. So I actually managed to locate the original oil painting for the movie poster, which had been lost. I found that. We found some various film prints, and then she found some as well. So yeah, in combination, just sort of working together, it took a minute, but we were able to pull together everything that was necessary to remaster and put together, these amazing Blu-ray releases we have now.
Yeah, I only have the Blu-ray. I don't have the 4K yet. A friend of mine, he has the Blu-ray, or sorry, excuse me, the 4K. And as we were talking with Pamela, it comes in this envelope that has the movie poster on the envelope. It's a really slick product. I need to get my hands on the 4K for that for sure. But I really have to, as a fan of the film, who loved it, and loved it back in the day when it looked like a kind of a grotty old episode of In Search of. I just want to thank you for your work and your help with all that, because I mean, we need this for just films in general, to be able to allow people to experience these films in the best quality possible. And and no offense to the film or Pamela or Charles, I mean, but a lot of people aren't going to put that as a priority of something to be restored. You need people like you and her to be really able to be like, this is important. We know it's important to a lot of people, and we're going to do as much as we can to get it out there in the best possible quality.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I just started on this path because I love the film. I saw it as a kid. I mean, I love Bigfoot and I love cryptids and all that stuff. But Falk, Arkansas, where this all happened, was about 3 hours from where I live in Texas. So it was kind of home base in southern Sasquatch. And so that's years later, I set out to write my first book, The Beast of Boggy Creek. And then I sort of kind of started that resurgence, I guess, or revival of the film, the information, the sightings of the creature, and then ultimately teaming up with Pam, and then her having obviously the clout and the power then to take what her father had done and bring it into the modern age with the digital remaster. And I did a commentary track on that HD release, which was, I mean, a total honor for me to, tell little Lyle the kid that he would someday do that. Forget it, my mind would blow. But I mean, that film was a huge, big thing back in the 70s and influenced not just me, but many people who went on to do cryptid research, filmmakers like Eduardo Sanchez and the guys that made Blair Witch Project. I mean, this was a homemade movie. This was do-it-yourself movie making that made millions of dollars. So it's important in many ways, not just from the cryptid aspect, but in filmmaking. So having that restored, I think a lot of people have come forward and recognize that they appreciate that. So that's really cool.
It is really cool, and it's not easy to do something like that. And looking through your bibliography here, the books that you have written, I mean, you go back to Boggy Creek quite a bit. It's very clear that it's very much a big part of your life. What is it that you think you've taken out of the research of the Falk monster? What do you think it is that you've taken away from that even surprises you after all your research?
Well, I think just the sheer number of sightings there were to this. And I think anybody who sort of went into the film and watched it and knew, probably got their information from a few news articles in the film.
Yeah.
There was some seminal sightings and there was some stuff, but the film can only encompass so much, and it only went up to 1971. So there, I was very surprised to find that there had been so many sightings since then that were just sort of lost and off the record, or people hadn't told anybody until I started getting involved. And when I first started writing the book, I thought, well, this is mostly a history book. It's, there was sightings of this creature, and then this wild movie was made. And then I realized, wait, this is an ongoing story. So that was super surprising to me, and something that has continued, to the present day, which is why I've come back to it so many times, because I've found other information, other sightings and things I've added to that story to continue to document everything that was involved in that.
It is a story that's not going to end, is it? Anytime soon. What do you think is out there? Do you think it's it's more than one, right? I mean, it's what is it that you think is out there?
Well, I mean, I can only speculate.
Yeah.
The film kind of, you get that idea. There's this lonely creature. It's this one creature, but if you start talking to the witnesses and looking at all the reports, you realize there's differences in height and even some differences in color, to where, if these are even remotely accurate, there's not just one of these. And obviously it's gone on for more than 100 years. So unless we're talking about a really ancient creature, there has to be a population. So I extrapolate from that to be that, okay, well, if there is some population of undocumented creatures, Bigfoot-like creatures, what have you, down there, they've managed to stay elusive all this time. There can't be very many of them, obviously, or they'd be probably more, more likely to be discovered. But, I've kind of just gone with it's some kind of flesh and blood creatures, much like Bigfoot. But of course, as the years go on and there's sightings, there's no proof, you just start to question, like, do we even know anything about this? Do we have a grasp on what these creatures are in the sense of the Fouke monster or Boggy Creek monster and Bigfoot, and bigger than that, cryptids? Because there's solid sightings and we still just, it slips through our hands to get that proof. So it's a mystery we don't really have all the grasp of.
No, but I mean, that applies to everywhere, basically, doesn't it? I mean, more often than not. Here's my question, though: how much square mileage does this area take up, that where you think that there's the sightings, but where they can also have respite away from humans?
Well, it's down in what's called the Sulphur River bottoms, and the Sulphur River flows out of Texas, moves through there, and creates a network of waterways along the Mississippi watershed that eventually goes into the Red River in the Gulf of Mexico. So there is about 20,000 acres in this Sulphur River Wildlife Management Area, which is a big chunk, and it's mostly undeveloped down there because it is hardwood bottomland habitat that is just mucky and swampy. I mean, it is a swamp in an area called Mercer Bayou. Well, you kind of zero in from there with, there is some encroachment with people living out there, even though what you see in the old film, I mean, some of those old roads and stuff, though, there's still very sparse housing. And access to that river. But I would say you start having to narrow it down to where these creatures could actually have that remote area to the seclusion they need. So I would say, I don't know, 20 square miles of an area that I would say they're frequently seen.
Okay.
And it's very difficult to access in there. And that's kind of where I concentrate if I'm doing, field research or something like that. I keep zeroing in on those areas.
I suppose if you have 100 square miles, but you can get in and out all over the place. It might not be as good as 20 square miles that you can't get into. Humans really can't get in without any real degree of difficulty, which might make it a better life for these cryptids, perhaps, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the problem with southern Sasquatch as a whole. You know, it's that there's no big tracts of forestry like we find in the Pacific Northwest or Canada. We're talking about discontiguous pieces where you're always having to cross a road. You know, there's people with boats on that bayou channel system. But the only advantage I see down there is just it is mucky and it's hard to get around. It's dangerous, and you know, you can go back in there. I could take you back in there in a place you see no civilization. We will see no people. You know, you go in there for a weekend or a week, you will see no other people, and it's so thick that you're like, anything could be out there watching us. And if it's, you know, adept at navigating through this swampy terrain, you know, it's going to see and hear us coming a mile off. It can just easily step off into the brush, and we may never see it, you know.
Yeah, they're camouflaged basically anyway by their fur, more than likely, right? They blend in probably very well.
Absolutely. I mean, that is nature's specialty with animals. You know, a tiger's stripes are not just for us to, you know, ogle at in a zoo. They're strategically placed to conceal them in the high grasses and the things in the rainforests. And same thing here. You know, you can. There's cougars down in there, and I've never laid eyes on one as many times as I've been down in there and camping and walking, and I've never seen one, but that doesn't mean it hasn't seen me. And you know, if a cougar can do it, then certainly something you know, we can see has even more intelligence or more reluctance to get near us. It could definitely stay out there, and there's plenty of food. I mean, you're talking about a swamp. I mean, you know, if you want to eat a buffet, this is it right there.
I bet. You know, one of the things we didn't talk about before we started, are you open to questions from the audience?
Sure, anything.
Let's do it, folks. A couple people are asking that in the chat. Go ahead, put your questions in right now. What I'm going to do is we're going to take our first break. When we come back, there's some new books. We're going to talk about just Lyle's books in general. There's a lot to talk about, plus your questions. You're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Hello, I'm Jody, also known as Witch Jody on social media. I open Midwest Witchery and Healing in historic Stillwater because as a nurse, I love to help others. When you come and visit Midwest Witchery and Healing, you will find everything from divination and magical services, classes to ritual tools, jewelries, handcrafted candles, witchy gear, and much more. My store is a safe environment for all on their own unique path. Look for the purple door. Find out more at MidwestWitcheryHealing.com.
And welcome back to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950. Thank you all very much for joining me tonight. We're having troubles launching our commercials. That's why we keep getting all that dead air. I don't know what's going on there, but it might mean a commercial-free night then, if that's how that's going to work. My goodness, I don't know what's going on around here. Makes me look amateuristic. That's all I know. We have with us Lyle Blackburn with us tonight, and Lyle loves to talk about all sorts of things about monsters and stuff, and that's what we're going to be talking about. Is that you over there clapping or something?
I don't know what that is, man.
Goodness, is it all just falling apart around me and I'm just not aware? My goodness, I have no idea what's going on, but that's okay. We'll try to figure it out here, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's like when you speak, I can hear it crackling, but when we're saying nothing, I don't hear that. Do you hear that when I'm talking?
Yeah, and it's my pot levels are not they're not high, so I don't know what's going on. I tell you, it's all falling apart. So sorry for the technical difficulty, folks. We're just going to try to carry on the best we can. Yeah, everyone could hear it. I don't know what's going on. Let's see here. Lyle, why don't we talk a little bit about your book? Is your newest book Texas Bigfoot?
Yes, that is the most recent of them. Yeah.
So walk us through that, please. What that's about, please.
Well, that covers the history of Bigfoot sightings throughout Texas. And, you know, as a native Texan, you know, it's one of those subjects that's kind of close to home as well, you know, in addition to the Boggy Creek case. But it would surprise people, I think, to know that Texas has a really long history of very credible and interesting Bigfoot incidents. And most people, you know, probably picture Texas as sort of a cowboy landscape type thing, you know, wide open country. And certainly we have that. And as you get to the west, it's even more arid. But the eastern third of the state is known as the Piney Woods, and it's a very thickly hardwood habitat type environment. We've even got swampy areas when you approach the border there with Louisiana. So there has been sightings that date back to the 1800s. Bigfoot-like creatures. Of course, they didn't call them Bigfoot back then, but a lot of crazy tales. You know, people, of course, this Texas, people shooting at them, just any manner of very strange things, as well as there's some really good footprints that have been found here over the years, and a lot of just localized creatures where people give them sort of this regional flavor, like the Caddo creature and the Hawley him and the Sabine thing and the Turkey Creek monster and the old mossy back. So there's a lot of personality to these Bigfoot stories in Texas. So I just kind of combined that all with, you know, some sightings that have been presented to me or people I've interviewed, as well as just sort of grabbing all the history from the newspapers to some of the work by my great colleagues in the state, put that together as just sort of this big, giant, great tome of Bigfoot in Texas.
Yeah, no, it's I can imagine that there is a plenty of things to be able to discuss and write about with that. I just got to say real fast, Lyle, that you've disappeared from us. We can hear you. We can hear you just fine. It's just your camera went away, and for what it's worth, my security camera also went away. I think we're having paranormal activity here, Lyle. There you are.
Yeah, man. Well, I've never used my phone on this. So it just went blank. I was kind of touching it because I was trying to get that sound out of there. I don't know. We're being haunted, I guess.
I'll tell you, last night was a very dark episode, talking to a woman who has been exorcised twice. And it was very, I don't know what your thoughts are on that sort of thing, if you're step into the paranormal at all, but it was a very dark episode yesterday, and honestly, suddenly everything after our second break, after we came back here, everything started to kind of not work. I feel like that knock on wood, the mic is working now. Things seem a little bit better. Your picture went away. I mean, I don't know. Get me out of here. That's all I have to say, Lyle.
It's the curse of the paranormal, man. As soon as you got something, you get the technology going, then there's glitches and other stuff that you don't know.
You don't know, and when we talk about the head of production for AM 950, we're texting back and forth, so I apologize a little bit because we're just trying to figure it out. He's like, your mic sounds great. It does now, Brett. It wasn't. Everyone could hear it wasn't. So let's try to get back on track here the best we can. One question I had, because I'm up in Minnesota, and we have all sorts of wooded areas. We have all sorts of stuff, and everywhere around the world, we have our sightings of our version of Bigfoot. What do you think is more different about these sightings of Bigfoot around the world? Is it the creature itself or the stories that go around it?
I've often wondered about that, because it is sort of a universal phenomenon, and in general, it's all fairly similar. I mean, you can find all manner of examples of people reporting these things to be 10 feet tall, or some that say they're more ape-like. They're running on all fours. They look like gorillas. They look like humans. It to me, it just sort of is a mix of all that all the time. I don't see a lot of consistency with the Minnesota Bigfoot is always red and this one is always brown. It is always sort of that mixture, to where they just sort of it is very hard to create very precise categories or descriptions, or to try to regionalize them. People try to regionalize the skunk ape and say it's more ape-like. In some of the earlier stories and reports make that the skunk ape, and that's sort of the Florida Bigfoot, if people don't know.
Yep.
That it was more ape-like. It was definitely seemed to be different than Bigfoot, the Pacific Northwest. But if, as the time goes on and the reports, I read them, I see them, or I get reports. I had two sisters, the most credible sources I've had, telling me they saw something like this in broad daylight. Their description was a Bigfoot. This wasn't anything different. It wasn't more ape-like. It was just simply that sort of ubiquitous Bigfoot. So I don't find a lot of very precise data to say that they're different in any one place. And of course, these sightings are brief, they're fast, they're scary, all that manner of stuff. So people aren't able to jot down all the details. It's like, it's big, it's hairy, it was brown, and that's the best we're going to do, unless we have some of these, standing in front of us to where we have a minute to look at them.
Right. Just don't move. I want to see what you look like. Exactly. And up here, I don't know if you know, part of the MNBRT is Michael Hexum, and he had told me about the time he saw a Bigfoot, but it was hairless. It was like old. It sounded like it was old. It was hairless. It wasn't moving. I think there was like another one with him, and that was obviously younger. And it was, that's the really interesting thing about that. Or maybe they also have, hair problems and stuff as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that explains some of the hair color differences. And there's grayer ones. I mean, look at our vast hair colors. So you don't get a lot of reports of somebody saying they saw a hairless one, but that could surely happen. I mean, nature makes mistakes, or individuals have certain trauma or an infestation or mange or any number of things that could render it hairless. So there we have the Minnesota hairless Bigfoot.
Right there we are. Now there's something now you can write about. I don't know if you know Robert Robinson at all, Legend Tripper. He's written, and
Yeah,
he's been
good
on.
friend. Good
Yeah,
friend.
he's been on the show a couple of times. We talked about skunk apes quite a bit, and it's always interesting his point of view of it, especially from from the Florida standpoint, as he's he often mentions that he goes out and he goes looking for these creatures, and that the property that he's using buds up to Walt Disney World basically, and that's just kind of a awkward thought of the fact that, not even awkward, but just an interesting thought that something that we see, what we think is so remote and so difficult to find is, could be butted up to the happiest place on earth, so they say.
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean, it's especially in the South. Yeah, it's all of that where, here's a Bigfoot sighting, and somebody saw on the way to see a giant mouse. So
Yeah. Well, and those who follow anything Disney know that if they go to the roller coaster ride Everest, there is a Bigfoot in there. So definitely get your cameras out, folks. Manda has a question, and her question to you is, what is the most significant physical evidence that you have witnessed personally, whether it be physical item left or something you have heard, both for Bigfoot, dogman, werewolf? I guess she wants it all.
she always wants it all. Let's see. Well, there's a number of things that I've seen that are intriguing, and as far as physical evidence, and I would say that would be defined as something I can hold in my hand, because I have heard some strange howls, in the distance, but I didn't see what it was. But the Bigfoot footprints, and of those, one of the most credible stories and specimens has been what I call the Elkins Creek cast from Georgia, and that was taken back in the 1990s by a deputy sheriff. And he was, by all accounts, kind of a neutral party going into this. This is a police investigator, and they were looking in. These people had complained of some bizarre activity around their house at night, and then this deputy goes back during the day, and he finds these giant footprints in the creek, and this footprint measures, kind of has a mudslides, but it's about 18 inches long. It's really big, and it's certainly not a human. And he cast that track, and it eventually ended up in the hands of some Bigfoot researchers. But that is a very credible piece that I have a copy of that track. I've talked to the Deputy Akins about this, and I can hold that, and I'm thinking, I don't know. I mean, unless this guy's just completely making this up, this is a very credible piece of evidence. And, there's other tracks, the Patterson Gimlin tracks, that go with the film, a lot of combinations of things that go into it. I've, seen hair samples and other things that come around, but it all just eventually boils down to these are intriguing, and it's possible evidence, but until we can actually quantify that in a scientific way, it's still just hopeful and speculation.
I have I've had on the program both MK Davis as well as Todd Gatewood. Todd was just on last week, and we were talking about the Patterson Gimlin film, that they're doing work on getting as much information from those images as possible, and the work is ongoing. Have you seen what they're doing? Do you have any thoughts on, if you've seen what they're doing, any thoughts on what you've seen?
I'm not up on that, of what they're doing there.
Yeah, that it was and I think, and I'm gonna continue this maybe after go next break. So I want to find some names, so I'm not just throwing out some half truths or anything. But it's a very interesting work that they're doing, and I don't know how far out that has spread yet. So it's just, that's why I'm asking the question, because I don't know how many other people are aware of it. We talked about it last week. We talked about it back in September. It's very interesting, and the discussion that there is more to the film than we've ever seen before, which this isn't my area of expertise. I'm very fond of it, but I'm not familiar. So you might be like, oh yeah, it's very clear that there were cuts in the film, or there wasn't cuts in the film, and that there's more.
Well, I'm familiar with some of the theories about the massacre and all other stuff, but I'm not an expert on the Patterson-Gimlin film by any measure. There are guys that have focused on that, kind of like I focused on Boggy Creek. So I default to some of those guys with analyzing the film and the suit and all that stuff. That's not been my area of expertise. So I'm not always up on the latest of what that is until I read their publications or whatever. So I don't have a real, my opinions are just probably not as precise as somebody who's looked into that more.
It's just interesting. There we go again. It's just interesting that we have that sort of stuff out there. And I like the fact, Lyle, that the research keeps going on, that we keep wanting to find more and more evidence, and that people like you and like them are keep kind of pushing the envelope when you kind of think it's like, how much is there left to do? So, I mean, I find that I'm glad that you all are continuing to do so. Well,
I have a piece, a alleged Bigfoot fingernail in my possession that I got from MK that we're going to try to do some DNA testing. So there is always something interesting going on, that we're following those leads. It's just like an investigation. You get all these leads and all this stuff. You got to follow up on it. You got to think about it. You got to, analyze it to the best of your ability and kind of see if that leads anywhere. And if it doesn't, you dissolve that and go a different direction. So we're basically just all investigators running down leads.
No, absolutely. I'm going to go ahead, take another break here, kind of figure out what's going on with my microphone. When we come back, if the break even work, we'll find out here. We're talking with Lyle Blackburn. We have a lot more to talk about, plus your questions. We're listening to Ghostbox Radio on AM 950.
If you own a holistic or metaphysical business and are looking to expand, then you need to be listed on metamorphosisconnections.com. It's a network where you can grow with like-minded practitioners and reach new clients. Metamorphosisconnections.com is an online directory you need to list yourself and your business. Our platform makes it easy for you to create listings of your products and services, and you can also choose to list your classes, events, and so much more. Metamorphosisconnections.com helps you create weekly and monthly promotional ads targeted towards your potential clients and promotes them for you via social media and newsletters. There are clients searching for your specialty right now. Let us help them find you. Start your listing today so you can share your own unique gifts and talents by finding the level of membership that best fits your needs. Let us help you reach your clients that are searching for what you do. Visit metamorphosisconnections.com and sign up today.
Feeling like people just don't get the vibrant rainbow unicorn that is your celestial essence? Have you been wondering how you stepped into this infernal, mundane timeline full of muggles, NPCs, and toilet paper shortages? Here at Magus Books and Herbs, we get you, and are staffed with real-life unicorns just waiting to help you rediscover your shine. So come explore your magical side with books, herbs, incense, classes, and more at 1848 Central Avenue Northeast in Minneapolis, or online at magusbooks.com.
Hello, I'm Jody, also known as Witch Jody on social media. I opened Midwest Witchery and Healing in historic Stillwater because as a nurse, I love to help others. When you come and visit Midwest Witchery and Healing, you will find everything from divination and magical services, classes to ritual tools, jewelries, handcrafted candles, witchy gear, and much more. My store is a safe environment for all on their own unique path. Look for the purple door. Find out more at MidwestWitcheryHealing.com.
Are your remote workers putting your company at risk? Not sure what steps to take to secure your data? I'm Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. The Rymark team is guiding our clients through these difficult times. In fact, demand has been so high, we created an easy-to-follow guide with the 5 steps to securely work from home. It's yours free. Download our 5 steps to securely work from home now at rymarkit.com or call 651-328-8900 for a no-cost how-to discussion.
Welcome back to Ghostbox Radio at AM 950. My name is Greg Bakken. Thank you very much for joining us. We're having some technical problems tonight. The board is kind of clicking a little bit, so we do apologize for that. We don't really know what it is, so unfortunately it's going to be with us for the rest of the show, but it's not going to change our conversation with Lyle Blackburn. Lyle is with us tonight. We've been talking about monsters, kind of Bigfoot, cryptids, all sorts of great stuff. If you have any questions, go ahead, put them in the chat, please. Amanda has asked the question to you. Will we ever have any more of the American Monster Tour episodes? Would love to see you two investigate the land between the lakes National Recreation Area. And Lyle, could you tell us what that is first, what the American Monster Tours are, please?
American Monster Tour is a sort of a TV episodic style investigation production done by myself and fellow Texan Ken Gerhard, the two guys in the black hats. We launched that as sort of doing our own version of a television show where we didn't have to answer to producers and we could do what we wanted. But producing your own television show is extremely costly and time intensive, and was something that without a partnership, there was no way to continue that. So we did a couple of episodes, which are super cool, and you can actually see those on YouTube. Then we took that and have shopped it to backers and producers, and even now networks have talked about it, but thus far nobody has come forward to continue the production. So it's not something we can afford to do on a long-term basis. So that's why there hasn't been any. So unless we get a partnership with somebody to help co-produce that, then it may just be just that, is the 2 episodes.
It's tough, isn't it? And I'm finding more and more amongst people who do what you do in terms of like in terms of wanting to create content and stuff. I'm thinking of like Brandon Elvis, Nick Roth. There's some other people in the paranormal field that they're getting sick and tired of having to do these, want to do shows, they want to do shows, but they're sick of the networks always coming in and like taking away that creative sort of freedom to it. And I hope that you find somebody, because I feel like that there's more and more kind of moving in that direction. I feel like.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been years since we've searched for that, so I don't have much hope in it. I've been doing this for, I don't know, a dozen years of networks approaching us with show ideas and things. It's a very long way from a concept to actually making it happen. So it's difficult. So we would like to do something like that and have more control, but it's always just down to economics. We don't, you not only to put forth the money, but how are you eating and paying the rent in between?
Yeah.
So it's difficult for just 2 guys who are investigators, unless we just did it like, hey, it's us and here's a cell phone and we just do something like that. But we were trying to make something that was on par with a production that would rival a television show, and we certainly did it for way cheaper than they can do it. So even with a small budget, we could really ramp it up. But it takes a visionary somewhere to see that, and we're not, going in the woods and jumping every time a stick breaks. So this is just, real. This is what we're doing. I mean, we're trying to make it exciting, obviously, but we're interviewing real witnesses, and we're going around just, the whole concept was going around the country. The American Monster Tour, we're like in this state, we're over here, we're following whatever leads. So I don't know, who knows? It may happen sometime, but I'm not holding my breath.
Well, no, but I mean, I get your point, though. The point's well taken that, I, as a viewer, get tired of everything having to be like a shock value. So to have a more balanced approach to what you're doing, and God forbid, a balanced approach to paranormal shows too, for that matter. I mean, these are things that I think there's a bigger audience for that than what the networks lead on thinking. And I was close to a show once myself on travel, and they said we weren't scary enough, and that's it's like, I think we all want to try to have a true representation of what we do, opposed to just trying to appease some sort of like ratings god or something. I don't know.
Right. They want to take the safe route with it all. So what we see on TV is a poor representation of that. A lot of it is entertainment. I mean, there are some good shows.
Yep.
And it's not my life goal to prove cryptids. I mean, I'm a sort of an investigative journalist. I've documented things. I've written books. I like writing books the most. That's what I like. But you have to have that other visual tie-in, because I mean, there is a fan base of books, but in today's world, you got to have that visual tie-in. But Ken and I both, we love to document and research, the basis of older cases, and then tie those to newer witnesses. And it's the story, it's the phenomenon of people seeing monsters in modern times is interesting unto itself. We don't have to ramp it up and make it silly to have the content, because we're talking to real people, and you can do reenactments or whatever. But I mean, the legend of Boggy Creek literally did that in 1971 when it was being produced. So that kind of content, it's not silly stuff. It was, this happened, and here's a scary reenactment. There you go.
Absolutely. Amanda does say that time. If she has a simple solution for you, Lyle, it's just win the lottery, and then you can go ahead and make whatever the hell you want. Is what I think that she's trying to say there.
Absolutely. Then we would have a good production of that for sure. So if someone wants to win the lottery and share that, we're happy to reward you with great content.
Absolutely. And then Amanda also says that it's okay with the glitching. The podcast is called Ghostbox Radio. She thinks it adds to the vibe. Quite frankly, I have no problem saying that this glitching is actually my co-host. It seems to be making a little bit more sense than I am. And Amanda already said that she'll donate if she wants, so that's good as well. Now, let's talk a little bit about music. Can you tell us what you're doing with music, please?
Well, I've been pretty much a professional or semi-professional musician since I was just out of high school, early college, and I've played in various bands of popularity over the years. I have a band called Ghoultown right now that I've had for 23 years, and we just did a small tour back in October, and just released a new video. We did a song for this video game called Blood West. We were commissioned to do a song for that. So Ghoultown has been around for quite a while. We have many albums out, and I'm also doing a reunion gig with my original band, Solitude Eternus, which we're doing this huge metal fest in March in Texas. So that's just kind of a bonus gig there. But so I kind of do that, and in addition, it's sort of fun. I mean, people say, what do you do in your off time? I'm like, what off time? I mean,
you said you sleep 3 hours a night.
Yeah, I'm either rocking out, or I'm writing books, or investigating cryptids, or I'm out in the woods. I mean, that's all great. So I don't need off time. So I do a lot of stuff, but that's only because I don't even sit around and watch the TV shows that we're talking about. I never have time, but I'm out doing. So that's fun to me, and how I'm able to do all this stuff.
So I had a couple questions from audience members. Ron wanted to know if there's going to be any Ghoultown songs about monsters, and Mandy kind of wanted to know the same about cryptids.
I get that question quite a bit. And I've tried to kind of work in cryptids and stuff into the lyrics, but it's kind of comes off silly because Ghoultown was been around for a very long time, and it's this very dark Western vibe, and it just, the way those songs are written, it just doesn't come out genuine if I try to steer it over into my cryptid stuff. So it's always remained very separate as two things, and anytime I've tried to make it work, it just, singing about Bigfoot just sounded silly in context of all the other stuff we do that's this very dark, like westerny kind of Danzig stuff or whatever.
Sure.
So there's sort of separate entities, I guess, and probably will always stay that way.
I mean, that does make sense. I mean, I can understand too, where everybody is excited about hearing maybe about a song about that, but it is kind of like, it's maybe a little bit too on point, perhaps, with what you do beyond music. I mean, it kind of makes, once you say it that way, it makes sense.
Yeah, and all of this stuff is just, and that's the good thing. I mean, my original band was on a record label, but we really didn't answer to them. We recorded the music we wanted and turned it in. And with the freedom of owning my own label, with Ghoultown, I just do what I'm inspired to do. So I don't really set out with some agenda, like I'm going to write this. It is what it is as it comes out. And I don't steer that too much. And that's why there's two sort of separate things. If I'm writing a book about cryptids, I'm not thinking about Ghoultown. I'm like all about what the requirements are for this. And then if I'm doing Ghoultown, I'm feeling that, vibe of what that band does and how I write those songs. And rather than to, like I said, to try to steer it, and everything of Ghoultown is literally just kind of what comes out.
And Ron had the question of, when is the next Ghoultown tour?
That I don't exactly know. I've got so much on my plate.
Yeah.
The big gig with the other band.
Yeah, Ron.
Well, I appreciate those questions though, because that's how I know we have people interested or fans. But if you look at my inbox, it is almost a questionnaire of when is the next book, when is the next album. It goes on with these questions, which I can't do it fast enough because each one has gotten bigger and just totally out of hand to where I can't deliver both. So it's become very hard to do it. So a lot of times I have no answers for those questions because even I don't have any idea, because I'm like, where is that going to fit? But it rolls out as it should.
So with Mandy asking, is there going to be a Sinister Swamp Volume 2? It's kind of the same thing, right? It's just like, hey, yeah, maybe eventually.
Well, you're right. And again, I mean, I kind of use that to track what people ask me. I mean, again, I just do what I feel I'm inspired to do, but it does help to steer, like, there won't be a Sinister Swamps 2, but there's something along those lines that is like complimentary, that is very awesome, but I can't say it because, I don't want to overpromise, and I don't want somebody to steal that idea. But
totally.
But yeah, there's stuff like that, and if there was two of me, this stuff would be cranking out.
Well, they're working on clone technology. So, what about anything like outside of the Texas area, outside Texarkana area, that you would want to investigate that you've never really had the chance to, that you'd love to get more involved with, that's beyond what you've been doing now?
Well, I mean, one of sort of those bucket list things, it would be to investigate the orang pendek in Sumatra. That's one that's
a smaller size sort of Bigfoot that's been reported there for years, and it's some of these reports are extremely credible, and they date back many years, and there is a good portion of rainforestry there. Sumatra is part of Indonesia. There's a lot of rainforest there where definitely something like that could survive to the modern day. And I've always thought that is like a very credible and very possible, Bigfoot case that could have some result in proving it if there was just enough time spent. But obviously that's a lot harder than just, driving 3 hours or whatever, even going from Texas to Florida or something. We're talking about a lot of preparation and other things and money and, taking food because, it's a nightmare on all sorts of logistics. But that's my dream thing is orang pending.
Well, and luckily, Amanda has said that she is going to go ahead and donate part of her lottery winnings to you. So that's good. You don't have to worry about that then. So as we wrap up here, Lyle Blackburn, thank you so very much for being with us. If anyone would like to see what books he has out, we haven't even talked about Monster Sauce. Go to lyleblackburn.com. He has everything there. You want to check it out. Lyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Sorry about the difficulties.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. I guess it is a ghost box, and we should expect these creepy glitches. And it's a bonus episode because it has more than people expected.
You got that right. Everyone, I'm going to be back tomorrow with Scott Porter from Secrets of the Asylum. See you tomorrow.